Thank you, Mr. Speaker. On behalf of myself and our colleagues in the House minority, I'd like to read into the record a House communication addressed to you and also to this body. Mr. Speaker, on December 10, 2019, the members of the House minority submitted an Open Government Act request to the Department of Finance seeking records of expenditures by Governor Ralph Deleon Guerrero Torres related to first-class travel, official representation, reimbursements, executive security services, and housing and utilities allowances. On December 20, 2019, Finance Secretary David Attao requested an extension of 15 days to collect the subject records. The House minority agreed. On January 10, 2020, Secretary Attao requested another extension, citing the excessive manual labor involved in gathering the records, as well as the reduction of work hours during the holidays. The House minority agreed again. Also in December 2019, we submitted as a House communication to you and our colleagues our OGA request to Secretary Attao, as well as some of these records of questionable expenses by the governor that had been circulated via social media and local news outlets. We further requested that the House begin a formal inquiry into these expenses and investigate allegations against the governor of public corruption, waste, fraud, and abuse of public funds. We appreciate that you subsequently referred these documents to the Committee on Ways and Means and the Committee on Judiciary and Governmental Operations with instructions to report back on their findings as soon as possible. We are aware that in January, the committees issued a joint letter to the Secretary of Finance for essentially the same records that the minority had sought. However, to our knowledge, the committee's inquiry has not progressed beyond that initial request, and to date, there has been no report. On or about January 22nd, 2020, the members of the minority visited the Finance Secretary's office to inspect the records and made arrangements for transferring these records to the legislature. With the help of staff, we proceeded with the work of scanning, organizing, and reviewing thousands of pages of documents by category. We note with concern, however, that more than 6 months after our initial request, the Finance Secretary has not fully complied with the Open Government Act. We are aware of certain records in Finance's possession that have not been released, and certain records that have been redacted without citation to any specific exemption in the OGA. Though much of our work has been disrupted by austerity measures and the COVID-19 government shutdown, the minority has nonetheless followed up with Secretary Attao on the records we have yet to receive, and we have resumed our examination of the records we have. We believe that these records should be available to all members of the legislature and the people we serve for review and analysis. We have scanned and sorted all these records into folders by category and placed them online at a link that is publicly accessible. And Mr. Speaker and colleagues, this communication provides that link. We respectfully request that the House Clerk archive these public records with the Legislative Bureau and make them available to any member of the legislature or the public who wishes to inspect them or make copies. In closing, we expect to submit a report of our analysis and recommendations to the House within the coming weeks. Based on our preliminary findings, we believe more strongly than ever that a formal legislative investigation of the governor's expenditures is warranted and necessary. The people of the Marianas deserve to know whether and how there have been abuses of public funds or violations of public policies or laws by the governor or by any government official. And we in the legislature have an obligation to provide the accountability and checks and balances that our people demand. We urge you, Mr. Speaker, to direct these records to the appropriate House standing committees to continue their work and commence a formal legislative investigation on the governor's expenditures of public funds. We, for our part, stand ready to assist. Thank you.